Welcome to the Wealth by Choice podcast. My name is Valerie Shirah, and I'm a stay-at-home mom who turned entrepreneur. Each week, we bring you stories and wisdom from individuals who have broken the code to generating wealth. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Let's get started. All right, Ian, today I have Ian Sharpe with me. Ian has been investing in real estate properties for over 15 years in New Zealand. And the last 2 years, he's been investing in multifamily apartments through MIH Mastermind and Sharpline Equity here in the US and as an LP. And we'll move into the mix of LP and JV partnerships in 2023. Ian's passions include his faith, personal growth, volunteer work, hiking, traveling nationally and internationally with his family, and fitness, nutrition, and wellness. In 2023, he will be going to Cambodia to help a children's sport program. He'll be visiting the United States to connect with his fellow investors. He'll be walking some properties and adding value to others. So Ian, I'm so excited to have you here. You and I have had multiple conversations, and it's always such a blessing to get to know you better. You're part of a wellness chat that I'm in, and you're always adding so much value to people around you, and I really appreciate that about you. Maybe we could just start by having you tell me a little bit about your backstory and who you are and what you're about.
Well, thanks, Valerie. So excited to be here, and pleasantly surprised when you reached out to me a couple of weeks ago. I thought maybe you'd emailed the wrong person or something, but no, super happy to be here. And I just think, getting to know you and Jonathan, and it's only just the start. That's what really excites me about being involved in MIH and Sharpline, is that we're only scratching the surface about where we're going to be going in the next 5, 10, 20 years. So, but real quick, my life in a nutshell is we came to New Zealand when I was 5 years old. We come from a little fishing village in England, and my dad thought he was probably going to die on those boats if we kept fishing. So we thought we'd come here. And when we arrived, my dad couldn't read or write. He was illiterate. But I admired him even from a young age, his perseverance and his willingness to give things a go. And I remember being so poor that in the weekends, we would go clean movie cinemas in the weekends just to try and make ends meet. So I know what it's like to really be on the bones of your bum. And I saw my dad learning how to read and write, and learning how to drive a car, and all those basic things that we often take for granted. So if there's one thing that my dad's instilled in me, is that desire to keep on pushing forward and to believe in yourself and to never give up. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And I left school with no qualifications. I actually came top of my class, but just when it was time to study, I was infatuated by a lovely young lady living next door, and all my study went out the window. So I actually left school with no qualifications, but fortunately the local newspaper took me up in the printing industry, and I did an apprenticeship there. And early on, I knew that there's something in my heart, in the gut of my stomach, that I just wanted more. I'd look at my colleagues that were 10, 15, 20 years older than me. I'd look at the houses they were living in, the holidays that they would go on, and what they would talk about, and it didn't impress me. So really quickly I started looking for books like Og Mandino and Napoleon Hill and all that kind of thing. So I wanted to educate myself about correct mindset, even as a 17-year-old. And while I was doing my apprenticeship, I joined the army as well as a part-time soldier. So that gave me physical discipline. I went down there, and it wasn't easy to start with. I had a big long hair. I had hair for Africa, and so I had to get whipped into shape pretty quickly. And but that was another foundation for me as well, and just getting my mindset in the right place. And I did that for a few years, and I thought, well, this is great, but I need to get out of this small town. And I moved to Wellington, and because of my printing background, there was not much choice for me to do. So I'd walk the streets of Wellington, knocking on retail store doors, asking if they'd be looking for someone to sell their products and stuff. And I eventually got a job in a store. I had nowhere to live. I was just couch surfing. I'm not sure whether you call that in America, when you sort of go from place to place, but you have no fixed abode. So, but I thought, I've got to do this. And I eventually started working my way up into better and better jobs as time went by. And then I met a lady in Auckland, and I moved up to Auckland, and then life started to get better from there in regards to financial making moves and all that kind of thing. And my first marriage, though, we separated, had a divorce, and I walked away with 40 grand to my name. And 30 years old with 40 grand to my name, thinking, gosh, what am I going to do? So I put a 20% deposit down on a $200,000 property because my girlfriend at the time happened to be a realtor. I didn't know anything about yield or anything else. She just said it was a good property to buy, so I bought it and did it up, got some good tenants in there, managed it for myself for a little while, and then got a property manager to take it over. And then eventually, I could take some equity out of it and keep going. I spent a lot of money on mentoring programs, reading books, weekend boot camps, and all that kind of thing. So I really felt like finally there was a vehicle that I could use to use the thoughts and the burning in my stomach that I had. And so I just went from there, buy a property, and then we went to duplexes from there because I wanted a higher cash flow. And then a couple of years ago, we sold a couple of properties and became mortgage free. We live in a nice house out in the country. But then I thought I'd set up a HELOC so then I could have access to money if I wanted to. And it's that HELOC money that I've been investing in America over these last 2 years. And in a couple of years' time, I'll probably sell down a couple of our properties in Auckland, which is New Zealand's biggest city, and just put all that money into the States because I'm just so super excited about the opportunities there. It really is the land of milk and honey. I just think if anyone that lives in America, you got to get out, man, and make it happen. So you so do. Because in New Zealand, multifamily is not a thing. Over here, we don't have it. And the few apartment blocks that we do have, the numbers are just crazy. They do not work at all. So that's why Hadar, my good long-term friend and mentor, has been investing in the States for several years now.
Wow, that's an amazing story, and there's so much I want to just kind of look at going through there. Like even way back at the beginning, I find it interesting what you came from. Do you feel like coming from, like you said, either poverty or hardship? Do you feel like that is what put that burning desire, to be able to want more and to push yourself? What do you think started that desire in you?
I think that was a big part of it, getting that burn from my dad, and also the fear of perpetually living like that for the rest of my life. So there's that tension there between fear, but also excitement about what is possible. I just didn't know what that vehicle was that was going to get me to where I wanted to be. And it's not all about flash houses and all that. It's just about having choices in life. I'm still very close to my relations in England. And I want to be able to travel there on my own or with Teresa and Daniel whenever we feel like it, not when a boss tells me, oh, you've only got 3 weeks holiday this year, or I don't have the funds to do it. Time and money, that's what it boils down to. Robert Kiyosaki talks about it all the time. And you're either a slave to those things or you're the master of them. And I know which one I prefer to be.
Yeah, for sure. And hearing you say that, it does make me think of Napoleon Hill, and he talks about it all begins with that burning desire. If you don't have that burning desire, you don't have that thing that's going to be pushing you to success and pushing you on to the next level. So I find that interesting that that's really where your story starts. It starts in the beginning when you had that desire and you knew you wanted more. And it's the same here with me and with Jonathan. And it was like, for a while we're just satisfied with the status quo, but then it was just like we had that change. We realized, with him getting Parkinson's disease, things were going to change. And it sparked that desire, especially in me, that I want more. I don't want to live the status quo. And I think sometimes we get used to just living average lives, and it really stops us and hurts us from becoming what we could really be. I feel like most of us are living just a fraction of our potential. Do you feel the same way, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I certainly do. And as they say, you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And not that I want to kick any of them to the curb, but just in this last 2 years, and I'm super grateful to Marco and Hadar for having me in MIH. It's just lifted my thinking, and I'm finally surrounded by people that think and act like me. Investing for most of my life has been quite lonely. It's just pretty much been me. And as a Christian as well, I tend to find a lot of Christians are just 9-to-5 jobs, pay off their mortgage, go on a holiday once a year, and that's great if that's your cup of tea in that. So I finally feel like I'm in a community now with MIH and Sharpline where it's just full of go-givers, people that want more for their family, for their communities, and for other people as well, the tenants and all that kind of thing too. So, and the fact that there's so much upside in regards to multifamily and other ways that you can make money through short-term rentals that you're involved in, and other things too as well. But yeah, the last 2 years have been the most exciting on my 15 years so far. But to be honest, it's the relationships. I'd still be in MIH even if we weren't buying properties. I just love the spirit. I love the love that's in this group, and and the fact is there's people, big CEOs in this group, and there's people that are not quite so far on the totem pole, but it comes down to character and your integrity. That's what Marco and Hadar are looking for, and I just feel like it's a big stamp for me that they want to be in this group.
Yeah, and I think for me, that is why I'm so passionate about two things. Reading books, because you learn so much from them. I mean, I have learned so much this past year by committing to reading a book a week. That just changed me. And then the second is relationships and that networking. And, love my friends, love my family, love the people I've been raised with. But I did notice that when I changed the circle of who I was hanging around and expanded it, I started to really see there's more out there. And now, some of the people that I'm hanging out with the most are really pushing me. They're pushing me to grow, to learn, to be more. Like, why are you only doing this when I know you can do that and that? Why would you settle for that? And it's exciting. And I feel like by becoming more, I can give more. I can give back more, and so many times we just cap ourselves out at a certain spot, and we don't realize that by us stopping, we're hurting the people we could have potentially helped by growing and expanding who we are. And I just think that it really boils down to learning and networking, getting around people who have that mindset and who want to grow and just expand who they are.
It's so true, Valerie, and I've seen your progress just in the last 6 months. You're always doing something new and challenging, and I'm just thinking, you know what? 6 months ago, you probably wouldn't even have thought about some of these things that you're doing now. But you've got people like Alex Tam around you, and obviously Marco and Hadar and other people that you get into the slipstream. So part of it you get pulled along anyway, but then when you actually start swimming yourself, that's when things start to really go. And I just like encouraging people as well. I just reaching out to people, talking to them about their health challenges or what their goals are, and empowering them through that way as well. And I guess that was one of the things I wanted to do when I first joined MIH. It's like I don't like receiving as much as I love giving, and it's probably people in the group would relate to that too. So I said to Marco, I said, I don't know what to do to add value, because I'm coming into multifamily at ground zero. I know zero, which in some ways is not a bad thing because you don't have any bad habits and preconceived ideas. So I mentioned to him that I have been involved in the wellness industry for about 30 years. And my dad was one of the first naturopaths in New Zealand. So not only did he learn to read and write, which obviously is helpful, and to drive a car, but he studied naturopathy and other things like that back when it was people would look at you sideways, and that sort of rubbed off on me. And so I've just found the whole thing fascinating. So I set up a well chat within the MIH community, and there's a lot of good things and a lot of information that's been shared. I've learned a lot through that group as well, and a lot of offline communication with people too, helping them and getting thoughts from them as well has been really, really beneficial. So I think that's what people in the group do. They're always looking at ways to add value to other people in this group. And it's like you're basically going to fall forward, right? If you just stick at it and you don't quit and you just keep looking down the road, good things are going to happen.
Sure. And I love that you brought that up, adding value. And that's awesome that, you originally, when you came into the group, you didn't know anything, didn't know a lot about real estate, multifamily, but you knew you needed to add value in some way to the group. And you looked outside of the typical, maybe real estate skills, but you have, and there's been so many benefits through being in that wall chat. And that's something that so many people can do. You might not be a pro at one thing, but surely there's something that you can do to add value and start giving back and expand your growth in that way. But let's talk about success a little bit. What does success mean to you, Ian?
That's a bit of a loaded word. I just saying before we jumped on live that it's not a word that I tend to use, because often it's used in the out in the world, which is like nice house, nice car, all those trappings kind of thing, that TikTok life or whatever. And but I've actually written a few things down here. So success for me is really about living a big life, full of purpose, and being deliberate in my life, and being grateful every single day, and not being stuck on status and all that kind of thing. So success, I guess, is a daily endeavor, because, your car won't give you a hug, and that kind of thing, And I used to be quite materialistic, particularly before I had God in my life, filling that hole in my heart, because I try and fill it with people, women, stuff. And I guess as I'm getting a bit older now, that it's more about memories now for my family, and sharing and helping other people. So I do volunteer work on a Monday with elderly people, and that reminds me of my mortality. That there was a day when they were my age, and a lot of them are still renting. They are doing it tough, and they've got ailments, and that there's probably 50 people there, and probably 3 or 4. You couldn't pick their age, because they've got their attitude is like they just light up the room. They're just full of energy, and that's a camp I want to be in when I'm older as well. It's like, my body may get older, but my mind and my attitude is definitely not. So for me, that is success.
I love that, and it kind of touches. It's very similar to my definition, and I'll be honest, it changes, as I grow, the definition changes. But for me right now, success is really freedom. It's freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom to be able to do the things that we love and we're passionate about, freedom to be able to give back. And all of that really does tie back to a lot of financial freedoms, because if you're free financially, you have freedom in a lot of other areas as well. And I think that that's really exciting. And that's kind of, one of the things that success really means to me. Now, let's talk about health, because I know you're super passionate about health. It comes out, in a lot of the conversations that we've had. Do you have any specific health things that you are really passionate about, that you feel like are kind of universal, that you think people should focus on in order to be successful in their health?
Totally. Well, and you also asked me about, if someone was just starting out, what would be a really, really good thing to do? So first thing would be to start small, like something that's actually is very doable. Like sometimes people think, oh, I'm going to join the gym, I'm going to go 5 or 6 times a week. And then they go for a couple of weeks and then they burn out, right? If everybody who belonged to a gym went to the gym at the same time, they wouldn't be able to fit in the door, because gyms are set up that half the patrons are not going to come. Right. And then people they don't want to stop paying, because then it's a clear line that they've actually quit, right? So people often pay when they actually don't go anymore. So start small and something that's really easy, because then you can build on that. It may just be cutting out soda. You call it soda in America. No more soda. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Or cut down to alcohol to the weekends is another big one. And I also tell somebody, be accountable to somebody as well is really important, because often we won't tell anybody because we don't want them to see when we fail. And that by telling somebody, it makes you accountable and puts you in that goldfish bowl, which is really, really good. And don't buy into the hype. There's 6-pack abs and all that kind of carry on. They just want to take money off you. So it's really do your research and find out, because everybody's body is different, but what works for you. And I find that most of the things that I do cost no money at all. No, seriously, like water is free. Stretching is free. Putting your bare feet on the grass is free. Going out into the sun is free. God, if you just did those 4 things, you're halfway there.
Right. That is funny. That is so true, that a lot of things that would improve our life can be free, and a lot of things that are detrimental are expensive. Junk food and all we pay to hurt our bodies so that we can pay and go to the gym and try to fix what we've done.
Exactly. And I like my chocolate and treats, and treats is someone's got to hide stuff from me, because I'll eat it. But the thing is, if you don't buy it from the supermarket, if it's not in your house, you can't eat it, right? Sure. But sometimes we buy stuff. But I've always earned it. Like if I'm going to eat a whole packet of biscuits on my own, I've earned that packet of biscuits because I've already put in the sprints or the rowing machine, because I've got all that stuff at home, because I'm disciplined enough that I can use that stuff at home. It's not a coat hanger for my clothes kind of thing, And a lot of people, you go to their houses and they've got all the stuff in their garage, and it's just, you can't even see it because it's got all the stuff all over it. So, but some people need to go to the gym, which is great. But for me personally, I like to have my own stuff at home. But it's all secondhand, but it's top stuff. But I bought it secondhand because buying fitness equipment is so great, because people buy stuff with good intentions, but then they don't use it and then they want to sell it. So buy really good stuff, but buy it secondhand. That's a little tip as well.
There you go. Yeah. Now, are there any specific daily actions that you take to help maintain your health?
Totally. So I've got my morning, I don't like the word routine, but I've got my morning process that I do. So I get up in the morning, I have my 16-ounce glass of water with some apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, and a pinch of Himalayan salt in that, and I drink that, and then I read a chapter in my Bible, and I speak out 5 things that I'm grateful for that day. And often one of those 5 is being able to get out of bed.
Wow, yes.
Because it all starts with getting out of bed, right? It's like you may want to go buy a building or whatever, but it's quite hard to do it if you're stuck in bed with an injury or an illness or something else. I often put that as one of my 5 things that I say every single day. And then I've got 2 routines. I've either got my full routine, or I've got a plan B routine, which means either I'm not feeling up to it, or I don't have the time, or I'm in a motel where I don't want to be on the ground because it's probably dirty and all that kind of stuff. So there's no such thing as a day off. For me, every day I'm doing something, because it's like when you're riding your bike, you can stop pedaling, but you got that momentum. But if you just pedal a little bit here and there, you're gonna keep that momentum going really, really strong. And I guess that's one thing as well. I think I've touched it before, is that whenever you start out, have intentions to be doing it for a long, long time. So if your gym is 30 miles away and you've joined that gym, it's probably not practical for you to join that in the first instance. I'd be probably looking at doing something else, maybe at home or something else like that, and getting a buddy and set up a gym together in one of your garages. So there's a way around everything. I think I mentioned in the well chat 2 weeks ago, I went off apple cider vinegar and lemon juice. I just got sick of that tartness of the taste. And then I thought, why not add a little bit of sea salt or Himalayan salt? And it's virtually neutral now. So just because something is working well for you now, and it may not in the future, how can you pivot it so you're still getting those benefits, but you're going to continue to go? Because I've had enough now, I'm going to stop, it wasn't meant to be, or something like that. We're really good at finding excuses why not to do something.
Yeah, for sure. And I've definitely can see, like what you're saying, is doing it every day, because I've noticed with me, it's kind of 100% or 0. It's very hard to do that 98%. Once you take a day off, it's so much easier to take another day, and then it just, before you realize it, you're not doing it all again. And I've definitely struggled with that in multiple areas of my health. You go good for a while, and then you just kind of get off track. But for me, that's been a big one, is just, even if it's a little, you did something, every single day, and not taking that, even the weekend kind of off type mentality.
Exactly. Little hacks as well is like, I used to do a lot of running a few years ago. I'd have my running gear right by the bed. If I was going for a run in the morning, it was right there. None of this, I haven't got to find some socks, can't find them, I'll go tomorrow. I had everything out the night before. So it's about being deliberate. It's being deliberate and educating yourself in multifamily, and being deliberate when it comes to your wellness, because there's a saying, if you don't look after your health and wellness, someone else is going to do that. And I don't know, do you trust a doctor to do that when he just wants to give you a pill?
Right. One other thing I can't let slip by without mentioning is, you mentioned gratitude, and that is so important. And I have never heard the word gratitude more than changing the people that I've surrounded myself with. And I know there can be a lot of negativity surrounding wealthy people, rich people, and it amazes me how much that's just not true, and gratitude is one of the biggest things they stress, and it's just something that I have really noticed. I mean, you can't have a bad day when you're grateful. We have so much to be grateful for, and I didn't want that to slip by. That that just really stood out to me. That is so true. It's so crucial to success in any area of our life, is gratitude.
And I think also, in the day-to-day stuff, when you may hit a roadblock or someone's let you down or whatever else, that gratitude of your situation and the long-term view is going to get you through those speed humps, which may derail some other people, but not the people in MIH.
For sure, for sure. Now let's go to kind of like the financial real estate side of things. What are some financial decisions that you have made that may have been really hard, but you feel like they were worth it, absolutely worth it in the long run?
Yep, sure. I got a couple. When Teresa and I first got married, we lived in this pokey little flat. It was boiling hot in summer and really, really cold in winter. And we had a neighbour from hell literally down next door. We lived on a right of way, so we were stuck there. In the weekends or even during the week, she'd put a lawnmower on right by the fence. So we'd listen to her lawnmower all day. And then when it ran out of petrol, she'd fill it up again. And we'd done nothing, literally, we'd done nothing. It's just she had a grudge with our landlord. But
Oh,
she
wow.
took it out on us. And our son Daniel was born there. But the rent was relatively cheap. So it allowed us, while Teresa was working, and even she wasn't working, to buy property. So for those 5 years, we lived in a little shoebox for 5 years with a little baby, so we could buy property in New Zealand. So that's one thing. And another one is a bit more to do with character, is actually while we were living there, I got approached. I was a client in a property mentoring organisation in New Zealand, and they were so impressed by what I was doing, and I was actually helping other people in the group, that they asked me to come on board as a coach as well. And so that's what I thought. Great. I actually had quite a good job at the time, but I thought, okay, this is great. This is my passion, working within the industry of property and helping people and all that. And so there was two parts to it. There was one part which was the education side, and one part was they would often find properties. And I learned pretty quickly that often they were trying to get the clients into properties that weren't the right fit for them. And also it was my first experience ever of experiencing bullying within the workplace. And to the point that I would get upset and say, Teresa, Daniel was 6 weeks old, when I'd only been there for a very short period of time. And so me and Teresa spoke about it, we prayed, and I quit my job, a six-figure job with international travel to Australia every couple of weeks, car, the whole 9 yards. And I quit it and went and worked part-time in a retail store on $250 a week, going from a six-figure job to $250 a week to do that, because it was the right thing to do. And it was hard when you've got a family to feed and you've got bills to pay and rent to pay and all that kind of stuff. But I always want to do the right thing. So, and things, eventually we got ourselves. One of the retail places I worked at was quite a way away. Teresa would drop me off in the morning. I'd have my running gear with me, and I'd run home.
Oh, wow.
With the pouring rain or whatever else. Because she'd go, I'll come pick you up. She says, no, you just look after Daniel. And I got out of my uniform, left it there, put my running gear on, and just ran all the way home.
Oh, wow.
Through like 20 or 30 sets of lights, the whole 9 yards, do all that. And that's my dad's mentality. Whatever it takes, son, you just get out there and do it.
That's awesome. And you know what? You really touched on something, and it's the sacrifices that you made. And a lot of times people look, and I've had people say, even stuff with us, it may not appear like we're doing, anything differently, but it's those sacrifices that you make in the beginning that really count in the long term. And some people, the flashy cars, the expensive things that show, that they're doing well, or that they're, investing or whatever. But I love the fact that you were really simple in the beginning, and you used that to really propel you, and looked at the long-term plan, the long-term game, and played accordingly. And that's really awesome.
Speaking of, thank you. Speaking of flash cars, I sold my flash car on Saturday. I bought it 2 months before I found out about MIH, and to be honest, I wouldn't have bought it if I had known about MIH. I just wanted this car. Has been my dream car for a few years, and I finally had the opportunity to buy it because I've always either had company cars or clapped out cars. So I put it on the market 3 months ago, and a bit like property, I was waiting for the right buyer at the right price for my car, and he came up from Auckland and bought it on Saturday. And actually, the sense of loss was actually, sounds corny, but I actually was really sad or Saturday afternoon and all day Sunday, and part of Monday too, because I absolutely loved that car, and it
Sure.
also meant something to me as well in regards to that. We'd been buying properties and all that kind of thing too. So to let it go and drive a little humble little car now, but it's all part of it. It's like what
Yeah.
price are we prepared to pay to do with our health, to do with our finances and other areas of our life. Everything of value is a price attached to it.
For sure, for sure. Now, are there any specific mindset blocks that you had to work through, in becoming more successful or in real estate or health? Was there anything that's might stand out to you that you had to really work through?
Yeah, probably the biggest one is, and I only heard the term the other day, the imposter syndrome, where you feel like you're in the wrong room, kind of
Sure.
thing. And I heard Marco's brother Gino speak about the gremlin on your shoulder, and I never thought of it like that before. But yes, I've sometimes got that feeling of the imposter syndrome, I guess. That why am I here? If people really knew me or my situation, they probably wouldn't want me there. So
Sure.
that's just my personal thing, and I think most people have got some shade of something like that. So
Sure.
it's actually just trying to live in the truth and know that at the end of the day, God made me special. He made everybody special, and when I go back to the core truth, it just slides off me. But it's always wanted to jump on me, and because to be honest, I don't think I've done much, and I've always thought, gosh, if I can do anything I've done in my life, anybody can do it. Because the only thing that I've done is I haven't quit. That's the number one thing, is I just haven't quit.
Sure, sure. Now, one last thing. I know you mentioned earlier about mentors, and that has played a big role in your success. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, gosh, at the end of the day, I'm not one of those people that put people up on pedestals. Like, even if King Charles or whoever was in my small town, I probably wouldn't go out and be waving the England flag, even though I'm from there, of course. But there are certain people that have come into my life that I look at them, and it doesn't matter whether they own how many apartments or whatever. It's more about their character and how they hold themselves. That impresses me. And there's certain people that do that. And Marco and Hadar are two of those people within the MIH community. And there's a whole host of other people too that are students within the group. And, the people that run Sharpline as well. I just really impressed by their demeanor and their thought processes and everything else. So, yeah, I don't think any of us can do life on our own, whether we just want to have a normal life or we want to have a spectacular life. We've got to be looking at someone who's been doing it longer than us to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, me and my husband, Jonathan, we feel the same way. If I could pay someone to teach me how to do something and cut 5 years out of the process, I'm going to,
Yes.
figure out a way to come up with the money to pay for that, if that's, the direction that we're headed. And it's definitely been something that we have had to grow into. We didn't always think that. We always felt like, oh, we'll do it on our own. We'll figure it out. And it's so
Yeah.
time consuming. It takes a long time. And it's kind of silly in the end. Why waste your time making all the same mistakes that somebody already made and could just tell you how to straight line, streamline it or get straight there. And so that's definitely mentorship and hiring somebody or finding a mentor has really played a part in our success in our real estate life as well.
Well, it helps
And
keep down the risks and everything else as well, because you can avoid the potholes or the traps, that other people have been educated on already. And we're talking about how things have gone well for me in some ways, but I've lost money on properties in the past when I didn't know what I was doing. I've invested in things that I'm quite gullible. People love telling me jokes and stuff because I go, wow, really? You fell off your roof and landed on your head? Like, seriously, like, people just love telling me stuff because I take people at face value. And normally it's great, but I have been burnt, whether it's to do with financial situations or other things too. But I clean slate with everybody that I meet now. It's like, okay, let's just start from this and let's just build this together. So I'm glad I haven't become cynical on life and with people and all that kind of thing too. But yeah, mentors, I just cannot recommend them enough, but it's having the right mentor as well. Like,
Right.
what do they want from me? Seriously, what do they, if they live in this big flash life and they got this jet and they're doing Instagrams or whatever and selfies and all that, they don't need me, but how are they making their money? That's another thing too. And are they still walking the walk? Are they stopped doing what they were doing? I've written a book, and they're just sitting at the beach every day now, or are they in the trenches still? Are they making things happen? What are they doing outside? They're investing. Are they into charity and other things as well? I look at the big picture.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at. And especially, if you're looking at somebody to mentor or coach you, one of the best things is finding somebody just one or two steps in front of you. Sometimes when you get somebody way out there ahead of you, they may have gone through what you've gone through, but sometimes they're so far removed from that
Yes.
they may have forgotten what it might be like specifically in your case. And so sometimes I've found like just a couple steps ahead of you is sometimes that kind of sweet spot where they're ahead of you, they've gotten through some situations like you are in, but they have the advice on kind of how to get out of there. So yeah, I love that. You definitely want to vet and really look at your mentors before just going with someone. But Ian,
Exactly.
I really appreciate you getting on here. I'm gonna be respectful of your time. I appreciate the fact that you took the time to just hop on a call with me and talk over just the different aspects, the choices that you have made that have helped make you successful. And I just want to thank you. Is there a specific way that people can reach out to you, if they want to learn more or get to know you better?
Sure, Valerie. Thanks so much for having me on here. I totally, really appreciate it. And I'm super excited about our futures, our families, and I'm looking forward to you guys meeting Teresa and Daniel one day. And I'm certainly looking forward to coming over to the States next year. I understand that there might be some dates coming up in about a week or two, so we can start booking flights. I can start booking flights to come over. But to reach out to me, probably the easiest. I'm not really a tech online person, but if you look up Ian Sharpe, and my profile picture is me with a black T-shirt on, holding a silver fern on my chest. So that's probably the easiest way, and just reach out to me like that, and I'll definitely get back to you.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much, Ian. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Valerie.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took the time to invest in yourself and to learn with me today. If you're interested in joining a group of like-minded people, I want to personally invite you to our free networking group where you can make connections and build relationships with people who are working together to generate wealth. Just click the link that is included in the show notes, and I hope to see you there.